The World Economic Forum just released their #1 global risk for 2025. Not nuclear war, not climate collapse, not even artificial intelligence. Misinformation. The inability to distinguish truth from lie. 2,000 years ago, an exiled prisoner on a Greek island saw a rider on a white horse. This rider carried a bow, but no arrows. A conqueror who achieves victory without firing a shot. The coincidence is uncomfortable. 61 active conflicts in 2024, the highest ever recorded. $2.7 trillion spent on weapons, a historic peak. Famine confirmed in Gaza, while stock markets hit record highs. These aren't prophecies, they're Tuesday's headlines. 4 riders, 4 horses, 4 mechanisms of global collapse. What if the 4 horsemen aren't coming someday? What if they're already here, riding in formation, exactly as John described them? The Seals of Judgment. The 4 horsemen appear in Revelation chapter 6. They're released when the Lamb, Jesus Christ, opens the first 4 of 7 seals on a scroll. This isn't random chaos erupting into history. This is sovereign judgment, unfolding exactly as God ordained. Each rider represents a mechanism of escalating crisis. The white horse brings conquest through deception. The red horse removes peace from the earth. The black horse weaponizes scarcity, and the pale horse, the only rider whose name is spoken aloud, brings death itself, with Hades following close behind. But here's what most people miss. Jesus gave us a framework for understanding these events. In Matthew 24, he called them the beginning of birth pains. That metaphor matters. Birth pains don't decrease over time, they intensify, they accelerate. They come closer together until the moment of delivery. The investigation. Now, you've heard end times predictions before. Date setters, failed prophecies, sensationalism that embarrassed the church and gave skeptics ammunition. This is different. We're not predicting anything. We're examining evidence that already exists. Data from the World Economic Forum, the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute, the World Food Programme, the Uppsala Conflict Data Program. Secular sources, verifiable numbers. Let the evidence speak. Watch for the pattern. The Convergence Preview. The World Economic Forum recently coined a term for what they're observing: polycrisis. Multiple global crises occurring simultaneously and reinforcing each other, each problem amplifying the others in a feedback loop that no single policy can address. Secular analysts are watching the exact phenomenon John described 2 millennia ago. They see the pattern. They measure the connections. They just don't have the framework to name what they're seeing. What if polycrisis is simply the modern word for an ancient pattern? Let's examine each rider. Then let's see what happens when they ride together. I looked, and there before me was a white horse. Its rider held a bow, and he was given a crown, and he rode out as a conqueror bent on conquest. Revelation 6:2. The Counterfeit King. Many people confuse this first rider with Christ himself. After all, Jesus also rides a white horse in Revelation 19. But look closer. This rider carries a bow without arrows, no sword of truth, just intimidation and deception. Theological consensus identifies this figure not as the Messiah, but as the Antichrist spirit, a counterfeit who mimics the king while conquering through lies rather than righteousness. The bow without arrows. The World Economic Forum's Global Risks Report for 2025 ranked misinformation and disinformation as the single most pressing short-term threat facing humanity, above armed conflict, above climate change, above economic collapse. This aligns precisely with the biblical warning of a strong delusion sent upon the earth. 58% of the global population now reports significant anxiety about distinguishing real information from fake. Generative AI has accelerated this crisis exponentially. Deepfakes, synthetic media, manufactured narratives that spread faster than truth can catch up. You can conquer a population without firing a single shot. Just destroy their ability to know what's true. John saw this 2,000 years ago. We scroll past it on our phones every morning. The crown of conquest. The writer is given a crown, the Greek word stephanos, a victor's wreath awarded to conquerors. And the data confirms, for the first time in 2 decades, there are more closed autocracies than liberal democracies on Earth. 37% of the world's population now lives under authoritarian rule. 2.2 billion people exist in closed autocracies, a number that has more than doubled in the last 10 years. Even in established democracies, leaders are using executive power to erode judicial independence and electoral integrity, conquering their own nations from within. The spiritual dimension. The white horse also represents religious deception, the falling away predicted in 2 Thessalonians. In the United States alone, Christian identification has plummeted from 72% in 2020 to 66% in 2025. 15 million believers lost in 5 years. Among those who remain, syncretism is rising, reshaping God into a non-judgmental deity who affirms all lifestyles. The conquest is spiritual as much as political. Deception fractures trust. Confusion erodes shared reality. And into that fractured world rides the second horseman, the one whose mission isn't merely to start wars. His assignment is far more devastating. Then another horse came out, a fiery red one. Its rider was given power to take peace from the earth and to make men slay each other. To him was given a large sword. Revelation 6:4. The sword of close combat. Notice the specific language. This rider doesn't just bring war, he takes peace from the earth. And the sword given to him isn't Ramphaya, the long sword of traditional armies. It's Machaira, a short blade used for close combat, assassination, and sacrificial slaughter. This prophecy isn't describing nation versus nation warfare in the traditional sense. This is civil war, terrorism, neighbor killing neighbor, the complete fragmentation of social fabric. Peace isn't just disrupted, it's systematically dismantled. The numbers of violence. The Uppsala Conflict Data program recorded 61 active state-based conflicts in 2024, the highest number in the history of their data collection. 92 countries are now drawn into conflicts beyond their own borders. Wars no longer stay contained, they metastasize. Conflict-related deaths surged 40% in 2024, exceeding 150,000 direct fatalities. In the Middle East alone, fatalities skyrocketed 315%. Gaza, Lebanon, Yemen bleeding simultaneously. In Gaza, 80% of casualties are children. 70% are women. This isn't collateral damage. This is the total destruction of populations. The Machaira is swinging. The economics of war. Global military spending reached $2.7 trillion in 2024, a historic high. A 9.4% real terms increase, the steepest year-over-year rise since the end of the Cold War. Japan's military spending rose 21%. Sweden's jumped 34%. Poland, Taiwan, South Korea, all accelerating. The United Nations Secretary General observed, "The world is spending far more on waging war than building peace." Capital is flowing from development to destruction. The fragmentation. In Myanmar, the conflict is fragmented into over 1,200 distinct armed groups. No central authority. A nation splintered into 1,000 fiefdoms. Across the Sahel region of Africa, jihadist insurgencies are expanding southward. Nigeria, Mali, Burkina Faso, dissolving into vast zones of lawlessness. The Red Horse doesn't just bring one great war, it brings the disintegration of the very concept of order. 61 conflicts, $2.7 trillion on weapons. Peace not just disrupted, systematically dismantled. Let those numbers settle. When supply chains fracture, when farms become battlefields, when the machinery of civilization grinds to a halt, that's when the third rider emerges. And his weapon isn't a sword, it's a scale. I looked, and there before me was a black horse. Its rider was holding a pair of scales in his hand. Then I heard what sounded like a voice saying, 2 pounds of wheat for a day's wages, and 6 pounds of barley for a day's wages, and do not damage the oil and the wine. Revelation 6, 5-6. The scales of rationing. The imagery is precise and economic. Scales represent careful rationing, food so scarce it must be weighed rather than sold by the sack. The price is devastating, a denarius, a full day's wage for a single quart of wheat. Work all day and you can barely feed yourself. Nothing left for your family, nothing for rent or medicine. This is hyperinflation and purchasing power collapse. In Nigeria, double-digit inflation has persisted for a decade, decimating the middle class. In Haiti, food inflation hit 34% in late 2025. The scales are tipping globally. The untouched luxuries. But here's the detail most people overlook. Do not damage the oil and the wine. While the poor starve for lack of grain, luxury goods remain untouched. 2,000 years before economists coined the term, John the Revelator described what we now call K-shaped recovery, stock markets hitting record highs while the working class can't afford rent and groceries. The black horse doesn't just bring scarcity, it brings grotesque, systematic inequality. Famine for some, feasts for others. The scales are rigged, exactly as prophesied. The Ring of Fire. The World Food Program and FAO have identified a Ring of Fire of hunger hotspots for 2025. In Gaza, famine has been confirmed in the northern region. Nearly 100% of the population now relies on humanitarian aid, while trucks sit miles away. In Sudan, 24.6 million people face acute food insecurity, over half the entire population. Haiti, 5.9 million facing crisis. South Sudan, 30% economic contraction projected. Notice the pattern. Every single hunger hotspot is a conflict zone. The red horse rides, and the black horse follows. Economic fragility. The World Bank warns that the global economy remains fragile, with risks of debt distress and trade barriers that disproportionately hurt the poor. Supply chains are weakening. Manufacturers are cutting back. We're not facing temporary disruption. We're watching the economic foundations shake. The scales are in the rider's hand. War destroys. Famine weakens. And into a world already bleeding, already starving, rides the final horseman, the one whose name is spoken aloud, the one who brings what the others prepared for. I looked, and there before me was a pale horse. Its rider was named Death, and Hades was following close behind him. They were given power over a fourth of the earth to kill by sword, famine, and plague, and by the wild beasts of the earth. Revelation 6:8. The color of corpses. The Greek word translated pale is chloros, and it doesn't merely mean pale or ashen. Chloros specifically describes the sickly greenish pallor of a corpse, the color of decay, the hue of flesh beginning to rot. This horseman is unique among the four. He's the only one whose name is spoken aloud, Death. And following close behind him, Hades, the realm of the dead. The scope of his authority is terrifying, power over a fourth of the earth. By current global population, that's nearly 2 billion people. The four weapons. Notice what the pale horse carries: sword, famine, plague, and wild beasts. These are the weapons of the previous 3 riders. The pale horse doesn't bring new mechanisms of death. It harvests what the others planted. It's the culmination, the feedback loop made lethal. Death rides on the work of its predecessors. The system produces corpses. The evidence of death. Even years after COVID-19's acute phase, excess mortality remains significantly elevated. Germany, France, Spain continue recording thousands of unexplained excess deaths per quarter. US death rates remain above pre-pandemic baselines. Something is systematically weakening human populations. The World Health Organization projects that climate change alone will cause approximately 250,000 additional deaths per year by 2050. In 2024, 309 major natural disasters caused nearly $242 billion in damage. The infrastructure of mass death is operational. The wild beasts. The wild beasts, in Greek therion, carries multiple meanings. Zoonotic diseases like avian flu and mpox, microscopic beasts crossing from animals into the human domain. But therion is also the same word used for the beast, the Antichrist in Revelation. Human beings acting with bestial, animalistic brutality. The atrocities in Gaza, ethnic cleansing in Sudan, cartel violence in Mexico. When the image of God in humans is completely disregarded, that is therion. The beasts are loose. Some have 4 legs, some have 2. Some are invisible. Death, Hades, power over a fourth of the earth. These aren't metaphors, they're mechanisms, operating in real time across real populations, creating real graves. Pause here. Let this weight settle. The secular recognition. Here's where everything shifts. The World Economic Forum coined a term for what they're observing: polycrisis. Multiple global crises occurring simultaneously, and more than that, reinforcing each other. Each problem amplifying the others in a cascade that no single intervention can stop. Secular analysts are watching the exact phenomenon John described 2,000 years ago. They see the pattern, they measure the connections, they publish reports and convene summits. They just don't have the framework to name what they're actually seeing. What the World Economic Forum calls unprecedented convergence, Revelation calls the Four Horsemen. The feedback loop. Watch how the horsemen feed each other. The white horse enables the red. Deception and authoritarian propaganda create the political conditions for war. Russia's narrative control enables the continuation of the Ukraine conflict. Ideological manipulation in the Middle East fuels generational hatred. You can't wage war without first waging propaganda. The red horse feeds the black. Conflict destroys agriculture and fractures supply chains. Every single 2025 hunger hotspot is a conflict zone. Gaza, Sudan, South Sudan, Haiti. War zones first, famine zones after. The black horse opens the door for the pale. Malnutrition weakens immune systems. Economic collapse destroys healthcare infrastructure. Cholera outbreaks in Sudan. Preventable disease becoming lethal. Health system collapse in Gaza. Treatable conditions becoming death sentences. And the pale horse feeds the white. Mass death creates fear and desperation. Desperate populations accept authoritarian saviors who promise order. The cycle restarts. It's a self-sustaining engine of collapse. The birth pains model. Remember Jesus' framework. These are the beginning of birth pains. Birth pains intensify, each one stronger than the last. Birth pains accelerate, closer together over time. The simultaneity we're witnessing matches this model precisely. Not four isolated crises appearing over centuries, four forces converging, intensifying, accelerating, together. This isn't coincidence of timing, it's labor. And labor means something is being born. The assessment. We're not facing problems that can be solved by policy adjustments. We're not witnessing random historical turbulence. This is a unified, spiritual, and geopolitical unraveling. The evidence doesn't point to end times might be coming someday. It points to the horsemen are already riding, in formation, exactly as described. So where does this leave us? Staring at headlines, watching the riders pass, wondering if there's any hope at all. There is, but it requires seeing one more thing. The horsemen the news won't tell you about. Acknowledging the darkness. Yes, the white horse is riding. Truth is under assault. 58% of humanity struggles to distinguish real from fake. Authoritarianism is ascending. The church is bleeding members. Yes, the red horse is riding. 61 conflicts rage simultaneously. $2.7 trillion flow toward destruction. Peace is being systematically dismantled across 92 nations. Yes, the black horse is riding. Famine is confirmed. Inequality is grotesque. The scales are rigged against the vulnerable, while luxury goods remain untouched. Yes, the pale horse is riding. Death and Hades follow close behind. The mechanisms of mass mortality are operational. The beasts, four-legged and two-legged and invisible, are loose. The evidence is overwhelming. The convergence is undeniable. The feedback loop is running. The turn. But Revelation doesn't end at chapter 6. Keep reading. There's another white horse, another rider. Revelation 19, verse 11. I saw heaven standing open, and there before me was a white horse, whose rider is called Faithful and True. This rider is different. He doesn't carry a bow without arrows. He carries the sword of truth. He isn't given a crown. He wears many crowns because they belong to him. He doesn't conquer through deception. His very name is faithful and true. His robe is dipped in blood. His title? King of Kings and Lord of Lords. The real King, coming after the counterfeits. The reframe. The Four Horsemen are riding, but they're not the final word. They're birth pains, and birth pains mean something is being born. The chaos isn't meaningless. It's the labor of a world being prepared for its king. Darkness before dawn. The old order convulsing before the new breaks through. For those who recognize the riders, who see the patterns, who understand what's unfolding, this isn't a moment for panic. It's a moment for preparation, for clarity, for hope that doesn't depend on the news cycle. The question. The hoofbeats you hear in every headline, they're not just the sound of judgment. They're the approaching footsteps of the true king. The question isn't whether the horsemen are riding. The evidence settled that. The question is, are you ready for the one who follows them? The Christian response. The response to the horsemen isn't panic or survivalism. It's spiritual preparation. It's counter-riding. Against the white horse of deception, commitment to truth, biblical discernment, resistance to manipulation. In a red horse world of fragmentation, the church as refuge, community that holds when society fractures. Under the black horse of scarcity, radical generosity, mutual aid, sharing what we have. Facing the pale horse of death, certainty of resurrection, hope anchored beyond the grave. The darkness is real, but darkness is the backdrop against which light shines brightest. The invitation. The horsemen are riding, but you don't have to face them alone. The patterns are clear, but so is the promise. There is a community being prepared, a kingdom being built, a king who is coming. For those with eyes to see, this isn't the beginning of the end. It's the end of the beginning. The labor pains mean the birth is near. The king is coming, and his kingdom has no end. Discussion question. Which horseman do you see most clearly in today's headlines? And how does recognizing the pattern change how you respond? Share your thoughts below.